Hello, I am Emmanuel Akonote, and I am speaking on corporate governance, strategic, imperative, or regulatory box ticking. In this presentation, we'll be looking at the introduction and context, the theoretical framework, why corporate governance matters, that is the key drivers, frameworks for implementation, impact on key organizational decisions, consequences of governance failure, synthesis and managerial implication, and conclusion. So, corporate governance, as cited by OECD 2023, says that it refers to the structures and processes used to direct and control corporations. The Jensen and Macklin 1976 also emphasizes on the shareholder being the primary focus of a corporation, and hence the need to maximize the wealth of the shareholder. Also, corporate governance in the context can also be looked at from the the stakeholder accountability, which says that organizations have responsibility towards all stakeholder groups and the need to justify their actions to them because every activity of these shareholders or this stakeholder affects them. It can also be looked at from saying that effective corporate governance is a strategic imperative, is a strategic measure that integrates oversight, ethical responsibility, and long-term value creation, as cited by EOCD 2023. You're looking at theoretical frameworks when it comes to corporate governance. There are many theories underlining or many theories that have been proposed when it comes to corporate governance, but I'll be looking at agency theory, which says that organizations are made up of principals, in other words, shareholders, and agents, in other words, managers. And these agents control the organization on behalf of the principals. Hence, they may pursue their own interest ahead of the shareholder value. So, in order to mitigate in order to mitigate agents from pursuing their own interest ahead of maximizing profitability for the shareholder, this agency theory was introduced. We also have the stakeholder theory. This one goes beyond the value of the shareholder, and it includes stakeholders such as employees, that's the people working in the institution, the environment, and then the community in which the business operates. We also have another theory as a stewardship theory, which says or which assumes that the managers, that's the agents who have been put in place, are trustworthy, and that the agents have the intrinsic motivation which can lead to long-term sustainability of the organization. Now, why governance matters? The key drivers. Now, governance matters because it helps to mitigate agency costs and fraud risk. Jensen and Macklin 1976 proposed this and said that it helps to monitor mechanisms, or when monitoring mechanisms and strict internal controls are put in place, it helps to reduce managerial opportunism and financial misconduct, because they will be able to track and they'll be able to know what goes on within the organization and then reduce its impact or get to know the bottom of where it is coming from. Governance also matters because it builds investor and public trust. When there is an organization that practices good corporate governance and they have good governance structures in place, good governance policies in place, these ones attract investors and it brings back the trust of the public, or it increases the trust of the public, as in ESG reporting. When it is reported so well, it helps with the inflows from international organizations and international entities coming in to support the activities of the organization. Corporate governance also matters because it aligns with global standards. That is, it enhances credibility, it attracts international capitals and long-term competitiveness. Example is the Standard Bank, as how they have been able to demonstrate and align with the global governance standards, which have strengthened their um, credibility while they operate. We are now looking at frameworks for implementation. And the frameworks, we are saying that there should be a board in place, but the board should be independent and it should be diverse. Why? Because it helps the organizations to make tangible decisions that reflect long-term organizational goals. Should we take JP Morgan Chase as an example? They have a majority of their shareholders to be independent. Audit and risk committee are also framework that can be implemented. This helps to ensure that there is efficient and prudent reporting of financial information and propose risk mitigating strategies. So when they do it, they bring out, okay, so this risk, and so risk are what are prevalent in the environment in which you operate. So they propose strategies that can help to reduce it. Then we also have executive compensation, which is linked to performance. Now, this will force, or this will help as the executives or the managers of the various institutions to take efficient decisions, and they will be very cautious of excessive risk-taking ventures, because if their performances are poor, it may lead to low incentives. Corporate governance and its impact on key organizational decisions. Strategic planning and risk oversight. This promotes effective decision-making and prevents excessive risk-taking. We also have corporate governance in the aspect of financial transparency and disclosure. It prevents information asymmetry and promotes long-term organizational goals. That is, they should be transparent in reporting financial figures and presenting financial reports. It also helps in the mergers, acquisitions, and divestitures. That is, it prevents the collapse of organizations when governance structures are very, very efficient and working. Another key impact on organizational decisions is for crisis and ethical dilemma management. This helps to identify potential crises. Because the board is diverse and because they are putting in good structures, it helps them to identify potential crises even ahead of time, and then they can deal with it properly and ensure adherence to ethical requirements. Now, what are the consequences of governance failure? Strategic consequences. Poor oversight lead to weak decision making, and it can affect organizational growth and even organizational stability. We also have the consequences on or effect on financial decisions or the finances of an organization. So poor corporate governance may lead to fines, bans, and litigation costs. Like the EU antitrust violation led to regulatory fines and litigation costs, which means that so good corporate governance would prevent all these lapses that will lead to the organization being fined and being banned and then having matters here and there in court. If corporate governance fails, it also causes reputational damages. Governance fail may lead to low confidence and trust in the organization's brand, like the Boeing 7F7 MAX crisis that led to the long-term brand credibility damage. And when it happens this way, it is very, very difficult to get the business back on track. The synthesis and managerial implications. So corporate governance as a dynamic, or governance as a dynamic. Yes, so corporate governance must change over time and adapt to new trends and market requirements. This will help the organization to be on its toes and know the new things coming in so that they can implement it to help their growth and market share. Leadership and ethical culture. Now, the leadership style adopted by an organization has a very huge impact on its performance. Therefore, its good corporate governance structures helps to have good leadership, good ethical practices, leading to increase in reputational, a good reputational projection. And also, we can say that continuous monitoring and adaptation. Governance demands that it is continuously monitored so as to avoid risk and ensure proper financial transparency to promote long-term growth. In conclusion, I would say that corporate governance is a strategic imperative as it ensures accountability and transparency. I would also say that corporate governance, or a governance that is robust, it improves its resilience and helps in the long-term performance of these organizations. In all, corporate governance is a strategic imperative that helps organizations to grow, increase their market share, and also increase their long-term sustainability. Thank you very much.